Hello, I'm Bella, your guide through Camille's retro vault, where the strange, the stylish, and the unforgettable still live on. Let's open the vault. Tonight we step into the candlelight and mist of one of cinema's most important horror films. A motion picture that transformed vampires forever and gave the world one of its most iconic monsters. We are talking about Dracula, released February 14th, 1931, from Universal Pictures. Yes, Valentine's Day. Flowers, chocolates, and an ancient predator from Transylvania. Directed by Todd Browning and starring Bela Lugosi, Dracula helped launch the golden age of Universal monster films. It also established the image of the vampire as elegant, aristocratic, and hypnotically dangerous. Before this film, the vampire could take many forms. After this film, capes and accents were suddenly very fashionable. The story begins with an English solicitor named Renfield traveling deep into Transylvania. His mission is simple on paper. He has come to finalize a real estate transaction for Count Dracula, who wishes to purchase property in England. The locals react with fear when they hear the Count's name. They warn Renfield not to go near the castle. They hand him a crucifix for protection. But Renfield, like many people in horror films, mistakes terror for superstition and keeps going. He arrives at Castle Dracula, where he is greeted by the Count himself. And here, we meet one of the great screen entrances in movie history. Bela Lugosi glides into frame with formal grace, piercing eyes, and a voice so calm it somehow feels threatening. He does not snarl. He does not rage. He barely raises his voice. Instead, he speaks politely, smiles slightly, and dominates every room he enters. That performance changed everything. This Dracula is not a beast first. He is a predator hidden beneath manners. At the castle, strange things begin to happen. There are no servants. Wolves howl outside. Shadows stretch unnaturally across walls. Renfield slowly realizes he is trapped inside the home of something inhuman. Dracula attacks him, draining his blood and bending him to his will. Renfield becomes a shattered servant, mentally broken and devoted to his master. Soon Dracula boards a ship bound for England, bringing death with him. During the voyage, the crew disappears one by one. By the time the vessel arrives, it is nearly deserted. The Count has crossed into a new hunting ground. In England, Dracula moves into Carfax Abbey, an old estate near respectable society. He begins mingling with upper-class families, using charm and unnatural influence to enter their world. There, he meets Mona and Lucy. Lucy becomes one of his first victims. Her health fades mysteriously. Doctors are baffled. The symptoms feel familiar now because this film helped write the rulebook. Weakness, night visits, marks on the neck, fear after sunset. When Lucy dies, the horror deepens. Dracula then turns his attention to Mina, drawing her into his orbit through hypnotic power. She feels his presence even when he is not in the room. He becomes less a man than an invading force. Enter Professor Abraham Van Helsing. Played with quiet intelligence by Edward Van Sloan, Van Helsing is the first person to truly understand what is happening. He recognizes the signs of vampirism and begins a battle of knowledge and will against Dracula. One of the film's greatest pleasures is watching these two men face each other. Dracula uses seduction, confidence, and supernatural control. Van Helsing uses reason, courage, and the refusal to be intimidated. Their confrontations are mostly verbal, but they feel like duels. Now, modern viewers should know this version of Dracula moves at a different pace than modern horror. It is slower, more theatrical, and built around mood rather than shock. There are long pauses, careful staging, and scenes that feel almost dreamlike. That is not a weakness. It is part of the spell. This film was adapted partly from the successful stage play, and you can feel those roots in the performances and set design. Rooms are framed like stages. Dialogue matters. Presence matters. And when you have Bela Lugosi, presence is more than enough. His accent, his stare, the measured way he says simple lines, all of it became legendary. Many later actors played Dracula, some brilliantly, but Lugosi's version remains the blueprint people still imitate. Visually, Dracula also stands out because it uses silence in fascinating ways. Remember, this was the early sound era. Many films were still figuring out what to do with talking pictures. Dracula often uses minimal music and stretches of eerie quiet. That silence gives the movie an unsettling atmosphere. Empty rooms feel alive. Footsteps matter. A soft voice can feel louder than screaming. And yes, some viewers today may notice unusual rhythms or moments that feel stage-bound. That comes with age and early filmmaking methods. But if you meet the film halfway, it rewards you with mood, style, and historic power. The climax builds as Van Helsing and the others track Dracula to Carfax Abbey. Mina is slipping further under his control. Time is running out. What follows is less action spectacle and more gothic confrontation. The threat must be ended before darkness wins completely. No explosions, no martial arts, no dramatic one-liner before the kill. Just courage in the dark. Dracula became a massive success and proved audiences were hungry for horror. Universal quickly expanded its monster universe with Frankenstein, The Mummy, The Invisible Man, and many more. You could argue the shared monster legacy starts here. Now for some delicious trivia from the crypt. Bela Lugosi had already played Dracula on stage before starring in the film, which helped him win the role. He was reportedly paid far less than his legendary performance deserved. There is also a Spanish-language version of Dracula made at the same time on the same sets, filmed at night after the English crew finished each day. Many film historians consider it visually stronger, though Lugosi's performance remains unmatched. Because early sound technology was still evolving, the film uses very little musical score. That strange quiet became part of its identity. And perhaps most importantly, this movie helped cement the modern vampire as elegant, seductive, and strangely romantic. Before Dracula 1931, vampires were monsters. After it, they were monsters in evening wear. Final verdict. Dracula may not rush to entertain modern attention spans, but it never needed to. It enters the room slowly, looks you in the eye, and waits for you to come closer. And somehow, you do. I'm Bella, and this has been Camille's Retro Vault. Until next time, question perfection, trust your instincts, and keep your eyes on the stars.